How's everybody tonight?
Man.
Good.
Appreciate y'all for being here. Y'all see I got my suit on, so we're gonna do some preaching. I hope everybody got their bladders empty, had plenty of snacks before they came here. We might be here in a while, we don't want nobody passing out. Just playing. Not gonna try not to be long-winded tonight, but I do got a message that the Lord gave me that I think is pretty important about our Christian walk, and hopefully it'll touch our hearts. First, I always like to try to talk with a joke to kind of ease my tension a little bit. I found a couple ones on the internet I thought was okay. I thought they were pretty funny. So, first one. All right, so there's the husband and his wife, and they get up one morning and they argue about who's going to make the coffee. They just going back and forth. I mean, they having a knockdown, drag out about who's going to make the coffee. So the wife like, no, you supposed to make the coffee. So the husband like, no, you supposed to make the coffee. And the wife say, no, you supposed to make the coffee. And they go back and forth. So finally the wife, she's fed up with it. She said, God said that you are supposed to make the coffee. It's in the Bible. So he looks at, what did God say that I'm supposed to make the coffee? So she snatched the Bible off the table. She opens it up towards the end of the New Testament and says, see, it says right here, Hebrews.
Oh, okay.
One more. That gets started. So, all right, one day, these guys, they're out at sea. This captain, and it's a storm. Storm comes up, big storm. The ship looks like it's going to go down. And the captain, they throw things off the boat, and they try to get everything, to get the boat to stabilize, and it just wouldn't stabilize. So finally, the captain looks around, he says, anybody out here knows how to pray? So one guy steps up, yes, sir. He said, all right, Captain. He said, I'm a Christian. I know how to pray. I've been praying my whole life. He said, good. You go ahead and start praying, and we're going to put on these life jackets because we're one short.
Oh, no.
Thank y'all for coming out tonight. I thank y'all for giving me this opportunity to spread this word. Like I said, I'm celebrating tonight. It's been 16 years since I gave my life to the Lord. And I always like to just take a week off and do some prayer and fasting. I always like to finish the week by bringing a sermon, something that the Lord has laid on my heart. And it's such a blessing to do it. I thank you, Brother John, for giving me the opportunity. I thank this church for just putting up with me all the time. And I just thank you all for being here tonight. It's really a blessing. And I want y'all to open up to the book of Psalms 44. And we're going to go ahead and get started because I got a lot to go over and a little time to do it. And whenever you get there, please stand as we read God's word. All right. So over in Psalms 44, verses 1 through 8, God tells us, oh, we have heard with our ears, O God, our fathers have told us that what work thou didst in their days in the time of old. How thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand and plantedst them, how thou did afflict the people and cast them out. For they got not in possession by their own sword, neither did their own by thy right hand and thine arm and the light of thy countenance, because thou hadst a favor unto them. Thou art my king, O God. Command deliverance for Jacob. Through thee will we push down our enemies. Through thy name will we tread them under that rise up against us.
Amen.
For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save. But thou hast saved us from our enemies, and hast put them that hated us. In God we boast all the day long, and praise thy name forever. Selah. Let's pray. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, we come here tonight as your humble servants. Thank you, first of all, for your mercy and grace that you shine down upon us so faithfully, Lord. Even when we're not faithful to you, you're always faithful to us. And you always help us get everything done that we need to get done and get everywhere we need to be. Even when we're running from you, Lord, you have a way of just bringing us back to you and showing us that your way is the right way. So tonight, Lord, as I bring your word, I pray that I bring it in your way, Lord. I pray you send your spirit down upon my heart and give me the words to say and the boldness and the confidence to spread your word so those that hear your word might have a closer relationship with you. And also you pray that you send your spirit down upon the hearts of the ones that's listening, the ones that's here physically, and the ones that's on the internet, on Facebook as well. And I pray that you would touch their hearts and let these words sink into their hearts and give them the ones who to have a closer relationship with you and a closer walk with you, Lord. I ask you just continue to be with us all, bless us and guide us all, and keep us safe as we honor and glorify your name and try to continue to build your kingdom. We love you and thank you for everything. And we say this prayer in your wonderful son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
You may all be seated. I was going across this. I was reading my Bible a few days ago. Actually, I was this came to me when I was in Nevada. I was reading my Bible when I was on in Nevada back in November for work, and I read this verse and it just jumped out at me. Now, initially, I had it going one way. I was going to have it go one way, but when I started thinking about the crowd going to be here and the direction it was going, I thought it'd be more fun if I take it this way. So I kind of took bits and pieces where I originally wrote, and I changed it up and added some things or whatnot. But tonight's lesson is called, "What is your walk telling the world?" Now, initially, when I was going to do it, I was going to say, because you see here in the situation, in the text verse, you see where because of the parents' testimony, because of the way they had lived their life, that the children said, okay, now you're going to be my God as well, because I seen how my parents made you their God, and look what you did for them. You brought them out of Egypt. You gave them this land. It wasn't by their own strength. It was by your strength that they was able to do this, and I see that, so now I want to make you my God as well. So because of the life that their parents lived, because of the direction they gave their kids decided to follow God as well. So that's what I was wondering when I was reading this. I'm like, what is my life saying to my kids? And originally, like I said, originally was going to be, what are your life telling you? What are you telling your kids with your life? But like I said, I wanted to make it enjoyable for everybody. So the title is going to be, what is your walk telling the world? So it's going to be, the reason why I chose that is because just something. Brother Terry came to my ministry last week, and we kind of joked about this, and he had wrote a song about it. But there's a saying. It says, your talk talks, and your walk talks, but your walk talks louder than your talk.
Amen. That's right.
So what is your walk saying to the world?
Yeah.
And that's why I want y'all, as I go through these, I came up with some examples. Should be saying to the world, the way you live, the way you behave yourself, the way you operate, it should say certain things to the world.
Right.
Right.
So I came up with 7 things. It was actually 10, but I knew I wasn't gonna make it through 10. There was no way I was gonna make it through 10. So I did 7, and I came up with 7 things that if you're truly serving God, if you're truly being a servant, if you truly have the love of God in your heart, it's 7 things that your walk should say to the people around you, in the world around you. And I got Bible examples to show what happens when you walk talk, and what happens when you talk. All right. So if we go back to the verse, like I said, we see where because of the parents' walk with God, because they put their faith and trust in the Lord, because the Lord lead them to where they need to go, was blessed. They won every war, because this is going on in a period. This is right around the time when David comes to the throne. It's a little bit after Saul, so it's just right when they get into the point where Israel getting on the right path. David had just kind of came to the throne. Saul is on his way out, but David's come in. So you know when David was in king, and when Solomon was king, they walked like they were supposed to with the Lord, and the people saw this, and that's what the son comes. So they was walking the right ways, and they saw how blessed they was because they walked the right way. We saw how blessed they was because it said the Lord said he was a man after my own heart. So the kids are able to see their parents walking in the right way, and they're able to see because their parents walking in the right way, look how their parents are blessed. So they decided, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make God my God. Right here what it say. He said, thou art my king, O God. Command deliverance for Jacob. Through thee will we push down our enemies.
Amen.
Through thy name will we tread them under and rise up against
Amen.
us. For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me. But thou hast saved us from our enemies, and hast put them to shame that hated us. And in God we will boast all the day long and praise thy name forever.
Wow.
See, why did they feel like that? Because they saw their parents living the life that they said they was. Their parents said they was good Christian people, and they lived the life of good Christian people, and therefore their kids saw that and followed in the same direction.
Wow.
So, again, I know most of y'all have kids, but your kids out of the house or out of the nest, so to speak. I think I'm the only one here with younger kids, but at the same time, as a Christian, when we take on that title of Christian and we say that we are a person of God, everybody watches our walk. Your talk say one thing, but they want, and if you got kids, which most of you do, you know that they pay attention to your walk more than your talk. They gonna do what you do more than what you say tell them to do. And they're going to also do the stuff you tell them not to do, even though you told them not to do it, especially if you did it back in the day. You can't argue with them, you know. So it's kind of, you got to watch, you really have to watch when you take on the responsibility of being a parent or being a Christian. You have to watch what you do. And because everything you do is going to say something to somebody. I think it's funny that, 16 years later I'm preaching, because back in the day when I was going to church, the one thing I always said, I never wanted to be a preacher. I never wanted to be a preacher. And I'll tell you why. Because after church, all I would hear was the old people get together talking about the preacher. Well, I can't believe he said this. I can't believe he did. I heard he did this. And I'm like, man, who would want to be under that scrutiny all the time? Everything you do, somebody criticize you. But then I learned no matter what you do, somebody's going to criticize you. You can do all the good you want to, and somebody's going to not like you because you so good. And you can do all the bad you want to, and they're not going to like you because you're so bad. So you might as well just serve the Lord, and that's why I'm here tonight.
Amen.
But again, when you take on when you take on that responsibility, especially being a preacher or just being a Christian, period, you have to watch your walk and make sure your walk and your talk lines up. And if it does, then there's 7 things I feel your walk will say to the people in the world around you. And if it's not saying those things, then you might want to look at yourself and make some changes. So keeping that in mind, like I said, keeping that in mind, we're going to jump right into it. I don't want to belabor too long because I want to get through all my points. I said I want to do it tonight. I'm going to get through it. Like I said, I initially had 10, but I cut it down to 7. I put a couple together, and we'll see if we can get through this. But it's going to be a lot of Bible, so y'all get your fingers ready to go through this Bible, because we're going to use the Bible tonight. It's going to be more of a Bible study than a sermon, but I hope y'all get something from it.
Amen.
So first thing that I think your walk should say, does you are a man or woman of God? By the way you behave, by the way you act, by the way you tackle the problem in your world, do those things. When people look at you, do they say, that's a man of God because of the way he did, or that's a woman of God? Does your walk say that, or does your talk say that? Do you have to go out and tell people that you are a Christian? Like, do you have to, do somebody have to come and ask you, or could they just know, oh, that's a Christian? Because of the way you operate. I have people all the time, people I don't even know, sometimes randomly come up to me and say, man, could you pray for me? Like, how do you know I'm a guy that prays? But I guess the way I'm walking, the way I'm behaving, they see it. I never know, because you never realize who's watching you, and you have to be careful with it. But the first one I want y'all to think about, the first question I want you to ask yourself, does your walk say that you are a man of God? Or do you have to tell people that you are? Let's go to the book of Kings. Let's go to 2 Kings for our first example. 2 Kings for our first 2 Kings chapter 1. And we're going to see where his walk is going to say that he's a man of God. And they're going to know it by the things that he's able to do. So we go down to verse 2 Kings 3 through 9. And God tells us, but the angel of the Lord said to Elijah, the Tishbite, arise, go up to meet the messengers of the king of Samaria, and say unto them, is it not because there is not a God in Israel that ye go to inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron? Now therefore thus saith the Lord, thou shalt not come down from that bed on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And Elijah departed. And when the messengers turned back unto him, he said unto them, why are ye now turned back? And they said unto him, there came a man up to meet us, and said unto us, go, turn again unto the king that sent you, and say unto him, thus saith the Lord, is it not because there is not a God in Israel that thou sendest to inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron? Therefore thou shalt not come down on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And he said unto them, what manner of man was he which came up to meet you and told you these words? And they answered him, he was an hairy man, and girt with a girdle of leather about his loins. And he said, it is Elijah the Tishbite. So right there he knew what?
Yeah.
There was a man of God.
Yep.
He knew exactly who it was.
Exactly.
He knew it by his name. They knew exactly who he was. That's why he said, what manner of man? Because if it was somebody else, he's like, they don't care about what they say. But he knew exactly what he was by his description. So then it says, then the king sent to him a captain of 50 with his 50. And he went up to him, and behold, he sat on top of an hill. And he spake unto him, thou man of God, the king hath said, come down. And Elijah answered and said to the captain of 50, If I be a man of God, then let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And there came down fire from heaven and consumed him and his 50. Why did he do that? Why did that happen? Because that man, that soldier, that captain, his talk said that he knew he was a man of God, but guess what? His mannerism didn't. You don't go up to a man of God and just makes demands, because a man of God only listens to one person, God. So if it ain't something that was said in his word, or it ain't the message that he got from God, period, he ain't gonna do it. You're not gonna tell him to come down, hey, because God might have told him to be up there on that rock. God might have told Elijah, hey, you go sit on that rock until I tell you to leave. So when this captain come commanding, you man of God, come down here. Oh, well, if I'm a man of God, I want fire come down and bring you up. And what happened? It did. It did. So guess what he did? He ran back and told, well, they didn't run back. The king sent another 50 out. And the second one came and did the same thing. Man of God, come down here. The king wants you. And what did he say? Well, if I'm a man of God, I tell you what, let fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50 men. And what happened? All 50 of them got burnt up again.
Yep.
All 50 got burnt up again. Why? Because, again, they walked and said that they really believed that he was a man of God. They talk said it. Now, man of God, they addressed him as man of God, but they didn't give him the respect as a man of God as they do in this world today. The first thing that people want to do is tear preachers down, talk about and make them look bad. What Brother John, you said all the time, they can't destroy the message, so they try to destroy the messenger. And that's what they were doing. They were trying to destroy the message, bring them down, because they wanted to bring them down for good. They were finna take them down and take them to the king in chains, no less, most likely. But what do you say? Well, if I'm a man of God, won't the fire come down? And it did. So that happened twice. So then what happened? The third, the king sent another 3 down. He sent another 3 down, another 3. But this time, this man knew. He knew he was dealing with a man of God, and he gave him respect as somebody dealing with the man of God. Because it said, and the third captain of the 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Elijah and besought him and said unto him, O man of God, I pray thee, let my life and the life of these 50 thy servants be precious in thy sight. Behold, there came fire down from heaven and burnt up the 2 captains of the former 50s with their 50s. Therefore, let my life now be precious in thy sight. And the angel of the Lord said to Elijah, go down with them, be not afraid of him. And he arose and went down with him unto the king. Why was his life spared? Because his walk talk. He went to the man of God with respect of somebody that had God's power on. He went to God. We just trying to do our job. The king told us come get you, so we come get you. Please don't kill us. But the Lord, and what did it say? The angel told him, go ahead. So you see, Elijah was doing what he was supposed to be doing. The Lord obviously told him to be up on that rock until he told him to leave. And that's why he didn't leave when those first 2 came demanding that he left. But when that man came, the third one came humbly and came to him humble, got on his knees and said, Lord, please don't kill me. He listened. And the Lord told him, go ahead and go with you. Why did that third one show the respect that the other 2 didn't? Because the third one saw that he was dealing with a man of God. Why? Because Elijah's walk said that he was a man of God. That's why when they said, what manner of man is this? The king knew immediately. It was Elijah, the man of God. He knew because his walk talk louder than his walk talk louder than his talk. So what does your talk say? Does your walk say that you are a man of God? Or does it say that somebody that you can be messed with? His walk said he was a man of God. And that third guy knew he wanted somebody to be messed with. He went to him humbly and he lived because his walk showed that he was a man of God. What does your walk say? Does your walk say the same thing about you? When people see you in the world, do they say there's a man of God and they show you respect as such? Think about it. What does your walk say? Number 2. Your walk say that God's power is in you. Now, I was going to put this point at a different point, but I'm already got it's about Elijah again, so I might just go ahead and knock it out right here so we ain't flipping too much and to save a little bit of time. I can talk a little bit more. But does your walk, second point is, does your walk say that God's power is in you? When people see you, when they see the way you operate, when they see the way you make it through your problems, when they see the way you deal with things, do they say, man, I want some of that? I can see God's power on him. I can see God's power in him by the way he did that, the way he handled that problem. Or they say, he's just a hypocrite like everybody else. What does your walk say? When people see you, what does your walk say? So we can go over here. We're going to see again, Elijah, using Elijah as an example. We knew that God's power was in Elijah because of the way he walked. And we see that because of the people that was around him. They saw it. So we go to chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. And it says, and it came to pass, when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. And Elijah said unto Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to Bethel. And Elijah said unto him, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And the sons of the prophets at Bethel and said unto him, knowest thou that today? And he said, yea, I know it. Hold word. He said, yeah, I know it. Just be quiet. I don't want him to know what I got up my sleeve. He's been watching Elijah. He's been working with Elijah. And not only that, he's heard the stories of all the things that Elijah have done up to this point. Because he's seen God's power in Elijah while he was working with him, but also before he even got called to start working with him. Because before he got called, he heard about the way Elijah lived in the wilderness and got fed by the ravens. He heard about that. See, he heard about how he fed himself, a woman, and her son with just a handful of meal and a little oil in a cruse for many days. He don't say how long. He said many days. That could be months, could have been years. See, he heard about that. He heard about how sometime later Elijah had to go back to the house and revive the lady's son and bring him back from the dead because the son. He heard about how Elijah had defeated 850 prophets on Mount Carmel when they had the contest. He heard about those things, and he knew the only way a man can do something like that is if he had God's power in him, and he wanted some of that.
Amen.
He wanted some of that. Yep. He said, man, the only way you can do these things if you got God's power, and he wanted some of that. So that's why when Elijah told him to tarry here, he's like, I want to be with you when you go. Why? Because go down to verse 9, what did he say? Because that happened 3 times. 3 different times Elijah said, hey, you tarry here, I'm going to go on. He said, no, I ain't going nowhere. And each time he did it, some of the prophets came like, hey, man, don't you know they're going to take it? He said, yes, I know, just be quiet. I got some on my sleeve. I'm trying to get some. Just be quiet kind of thing, you know. So you read down in verse 9, when Elijah finally addressed him, he said, and it came to pass, when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. And Elijah said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. What do you want? You want a double? He said, man, that looks so good. I don't just want what you got. I want twice as much as you got. Because Elijah walked in the way that made God's power look good to Elisha. He knew something was good there. He knew there was a strength there. He knew there was a power there. He was willing to do whatever to get it. Wow. And that's what he told me. He said, man, I want what you got. That looks so good. I see the way you handle your business. You just fought 850 prophets and won. You know, I saw all the things you done. I want some of that power. Not only do I want some, I want a double portion of it. Of course, that probably threw Elijah back. Like, man, I got enough. You want a double portion? That's more than I got. He said, but, you know, he said, and he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire, part of them asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. So he told him, he said, if you see me go, then you'll get your double portion. You'll get that power you've been asking for. God is going to give it to you. But if you don't see me, then you ain't going to get it. Now, at this point, I forgot to mention, at this point, of course, you can read the story, but I'm trying to save time, so I ain't going to go through the whole story. But at this point, they had came to the Jordan, and Elijah took his mantle off, and he slapped the water. And when he slapped the water in the mantle, the river just parted, and they walked across on dry land. So right after that happened, that's when the Lord came, and they was walking, you know, finishing up talking, and that's when the Lord came, and he took Elijah. So Elisha got to see it. So now, Elijah told him, if you see it, then you're going to have that power. But Elisha, he wasn't sure yet, but he wanted to make sure. So it says, and he took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him and smote the waters and said, where is the Lord God of Elijah? Where's that power, God? He said I can get it. Where do I got it or not? He ain't gonna tell you. He wanted to see if he had that power. He wanted to make sure he had that power. He didn't want Elijah to be gone and he not had that power. He got to see him. He was promised the power, so he got the power. And what it says, and when he also had split the waters, they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over. He got that power.
Wow.
He got that power. And why did he want that power? Because Elijah's walk said, that's something you need to have. That's something you want in your life. You want to have the power of God in your life because that's the only way you're going to get through your problem. That's the only way you're going to make it through this world. That's the only way you're going to be able to serve God is if you have God's power. So if the way you living and the things you doing not making people want that same power that you got, then you might want to look at yourself. You want to sit down and really consider that question. What is my walk saying? Is my walk saying that I have God's power in me, or is it saying I'm just a Pharisee? I think Pharisee, I said that wrong. A farce, that's what I'm looking for, that word. What is your walk saying? Is it saying that you're walking close enough with God, you have a close enough relationship with God, that God's power is flowing through you? To the point where somebody not only want it, they want a double portion of it because of how good it's been to you and how you've lived. How you've lived your life and what you've been able to accomplish. That if you got somebody that's following you around, wanting that same power that you have, then you'll know that your walk is saying, God's power is in me. Walk saying. What is your walk saying? Number 3, does your walk say that you are going to serve God no matter what? It's always easy to serve God when things are going good. Right. When everything is good, you up on the mountaintop and everything. Everybody can serve him then, but what do you do when the bad times come around? Mm-hmm. What do you do when it ain't so fun? When you got the struggle right now, I'm telling you, we going through it. I say we must be doing something. We've been an attack since 2020 started, and it kind of bummed me out. I was like, 2020, that's a cool year. It's 220s. You got the 2020 vision and all that, but man, it has been a rough 2020 because we've been on attack. But guess what? I'm still here preaching tonight. Amen. I went to the jail last week. I went out soul winning yesterday. I'm still doing God's work because I'm a servant no matter what. But what are you gonna do when those bad times come around? When it ain't so easy to serve God, are you gonna keep serving Him? Does your walk say that, man, that guy's gonna serve God no matter what? Or does your walk say as soon as the fire comes, he's gonna run the other way? What do you do when the bad times come around? And this is what's gonna what are you going to do when you get attacked by the God haters? When the God haters start coming around. I know, Brother John, you don't want to be on Facebook because you don't want to bring that attention to you, but what happens? That can happen. Somebody can see this sermon and not like something I said, and next thing you know, I get slammed, I get kicked, put in Facebook jail, or kicked out Facebook altogether. Am I going to cry like, well, I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to say that again. No, I'm going to keep going. But what are you going to do? What does your walk say that you're going to serve the Lord no matter what? You got sometimes God will test you. And he said his talk says he's going to serve me no matter what, but I'm going to see what his walk going to say. And he did that over the book. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 3. Amen. He did that. This is one of my favorite. The first 6 books of Daniel is one of my favorite ones to do lessons off with the guys in jail because it just explains the importance of faithfulness. So what we got going on here, we got Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel brothers have been exiled over to the Israel wickedness, and the Lord has kicked them out of the land. So now they're working for the king. And of course, because God is blessing them, they stay faithful. God is blessing them, so they're just constantly elevating up in the kingdom. So eventually, so you got the Babylonians who they was outranking start getting upset. So as soon as they saw opportunity to attack them, they did. So what happens is one day Nebuchadnezzar, now he's powerful, he's the king of the world, he got all this money. He had enough money to build a gold statue that was 90 feet tall, and I think it was like 9 feet wide or something like that, 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide, made of pure gold. Man, every time I read that, the Memphis in me come out, and I was like, man, I would have robbed dude. I promise I would have. 90 feet, a gold statue, 90 feet. Every time I read this story, I always think that, like, if I was back then, that's what he set up the statue to show his pride, to show how great and glorious he was. So he sets the statue up and tell everybody, look, there's going to be some musical instruments played, And then once you hear these music instruments, I want y'all to drop down to your knees and worship this statue and worship me. Worship this idol. And say, anybody that don't do it, I'm throwing you into the fiery furnace. So now you got a choice to make. If you're a Christian, you're a true servant of God, now you got a choice to make. That's God's one thing. That's the first commandment. Don't love no other God, or worship no other God before me. That's the main thing. So now you got a choice. Are you going to do what God told you to do, or are you going to do what this man told you to do so you can protect your life? So what does these three brothers do? So let's go down to verse 13, because y'all know most of the story, but we're going to go down to 13 for the same time. So it says on verse 13, then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now, if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, and the dulcimer, I practiced that word earlier, the dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast in the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that out of my hand? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered. And before I say this, one of my favorite lines out of the whole. And I always interpret it a little different for the guys in jail in church. But what they, it's just so gangster to me what they said, because you gotta understand, this is a big king called everybody together, and not only do you call it's all the important people. It ain't just the regular people. It's the governors and all the higher ups. It's nobles. I mean, everybody that he really got to be king in front of. And yet these three Hebrew boys come up here and they tell him. And watch how they respond. It says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee. So what they say, even if he don't, I want you to know, we will not serve thy God, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Amen. He just told everybody. He just told the king off in front of everybody. Right. We don't even care how we're going to answer you, because I'm going to let you know right now, no matter what. God. So he was upset. Amen. Of course, the rest of the story, he got upset. Now, we got to imagine this is a fiery furnace. It's already hot enough to kill a man. It's already hot enough, but he was so upset that he said that heated up 7 times hotter. I mean, he wanted to make sure they was extra dead. He wanted to make sure they were so dead that they made dead not look dead. He wanted to make sure they was extra dead. 7 times hotter. And he did. They heated up 7 times hotter. And of course, the story. He get his 3 strongest soldiers, bound them up. It was so hot that the soldiers died before they even dropped them in there. Yep. The soldiers basically pushed them, and then they died, and the boys fell into the fire. Probably had his chest puffed up, like, now what you got to say about that? But then what happened? It said he jumped up in amazement. Go down to verse 23. It said, and these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning. Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and he rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? Yeah. They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, this is another one of my favorite lines. And he answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Amen. The form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Why? Because they was faithful. Amen. And you know what those boys did? They walked, just told the king, I'm going to serve God no matter what. Yep. I don't care what this world throws at me. I don't care what you do to me. I'm going to serve the Lord. And we see that when we go to page 29. So, of course, they get thrown in the fire. They said, then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, which he did too close, because he didn't want to die, so he couldn't get too close. And he spake, and he said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth out of the midst of the fire. And of course, everybody gathered around to look and see did this really happen. And they smelled them, said they didn't even smell like fire. It wasn't a hair on their head singed, not an eyebrow missing, nothing was out of place. They didn't even smell like fire. And yet you got these 3 guys that just went to throw them in, they died. Yep. And the guys that actually went in the fire didn't even get touched by it. Why? Because they walked, talked. Amen. And they walked, talked louder than they talked.
Amen.
And they walked, said that no, I'm going to serve the Lord. Amen. And that's what they walked told them. And guess what happened because they walked said that? Look what they walked said to these pagan people. Because you got to understand, these are pagans, these are heathens. They care nothing about God. They worship idols. But because of these boys walked, guess what he told them? He said, then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, blessed be the God, big G God, of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who have sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word, and yielded their bodies that they might not serve nor worship any God except their own God. Amen. Therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort. Yes. What did they do? They gave God glory. Yeah. Why? Because they walked, talked louder than they talked. And they walked, said that guess what? I'm going to serve my God no matter what, because I know I serve a God that can do all things. I know I serve a God that can pull me out of that fire and I not be hurt. I know I serve the Almighty God. And that's what they walked, said, and that's why it's so important to make sure that your walk, talk louder than talk. Number 4. It says, for number 4, does your walk say that you are willing to give it all to God because you truly believe he will provide? Does your walk say that? Does it say that I'm putting my full trust in God and I know that he's going to provide for me? Now, I ain't going to lie to y'all. That wasn't hard for me there. I got 5 kids and 1 job, so y'all do the math. It's always rough. But I always have to put my faith and trust in God, because if you do, it always works out better. The Lord always provides. He always provides. Let's go over to Acts. We're going to see this, and we're going to see what happened in this one. We got a good example, because we got an example of somebody that's walked is doing the talking, and then we got an example of somebody who talked going to do the talking, and we're going to see who works, how it works out for them. So we go to Acts chapter 4, verses 32 to 37. We see what happens when the walk walks. So it says, and the multitude of them that believed were of one heart and of one soul. Neither said any of them that aught of the things which he possessed was his own, but they had all things common. And with great power gave the apostles witness of the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and great grace was upon them all. Neither was there any among them that lacked, for as many as were possessors of lands or houses sold them, and brought the prices of the things that were sold, and laid them down at the apostles' feet, and distribution was made unto every man according as he had need. And the hosts who by the apostles was surnamed Barnabas, which is being interpreted the son of consolation, of the country of Cyprus, having land, sold it, and brought the money and laid it at the apostles' feet. So what you got going here? They giving everything to God. They so happy. The church is just getting started. They out there preaching. People are getting saved. Everybody, they all in. And they all in to the point where they just selling their land and they just giving everything to God. And man, it's a hard thing to do right there sometimes, especially when your money start getting tight and you don't know how you're going to make it through tomorrow, and yet God still want to come back with 10%. Lord, I'm already missing, the other 80% to the bills, and I got to give you 10% as well. It's hard. And I'm telling you, like I said, we've been going through the fire, and we got some news yesterday that's even more devastating. I honestly don't know what we're going to do with our finances, but guess what? I still make sure I tithe every single time. And it's hard. It's hard to let that money. I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes I get ready to put that plate, that hand just want to, I'm like, not that make it, let it go, let that check go, because you get to thinking all the things you can do with that money. Like man, help me catch up. I can get this done. I can get that done. But what I've learned, it's always better to be obedient and part with that 10% than try to hold something back. Because it always works out. You get the blessings, because you miss blessings when you don't be obedient to God's plan. And not only that, something bad might happen to you. And we see what happens when you try to hold God's money back. Let's go down here to chapter 5, verses 1 through 10. And everybody knows this story, but this is what happens when you're not obedient. So chapter 5 says, But a certain man named Ananias, with Sapphira his wife, sold a possession and kept back part of the price. His wife also being privy to it, and bought a certain part and laid it at the apostles' feet. But Peter said unto Ananias, why have Satan filled thine heart to lie to the Holy Ghost and to keep back part of the price of the land? So they talk said, oh man, we're all in. We giving this all to God. We done sold this land, praise God. We done sold this land and we're giving all the money to God. That's what they talk said. But the walk said they lying. And immediately the Holy Spirit knew it. And Peter called him out on it. And he said, why does it remain? Was it not thine own? And after it was sold, was it not in thy own power? Why hast thou conceived this thing in thine heart, that thou not lied up, that thou hast not lied unto men, but unto God? And Ananias, hearing these words, fell down and gave up the ghost, and great fear came on all them that heard these things.
Wow.
Right there, why God killed him. Standing for me, I'm just gonna go and take you out of here. You know, because like Peter said, you didn't have to bring it to me. It wasn't no requirement. You could have just gave you 10%. You know, could have gave you tithe of it. But you the one said that you was gonna give all this, and now you're gonna lie to me. You're gonna lie. You didn't lie to me. You lied to God. Right. And what happened? Bam. Died. Now check this out. So that happened already, and the young men arose and wound up and carried him out and buried him. And it was about the space of 3 hours. 3 hours later, his wife, not knowing what was done, she came in. And Peter answered to her, tell me whether ye sold the land for so much. And she said, yea, for so much. Then Peter said unto her, how is it that ye have agreed together to tempt the Spirit of the Lord? Behold, the feet of them which have buried thy husband are at the door, and shall carry thee out. Then she fell down straightway at his feet and yielded up the ghost. Well, she died too. Why? Because they weren't obedient. Yeah. But they walked in. And this time they talked more than they walked. And what happened? They walked them on over to their graveyard, right? Just buried them right beside each other. Because they tried to treat the Lord. They wasn't obedient to the Lord. And because of that, they tried to hold back that part. Yes, it's hard to let go of that 10%. I'm telling you, especially right now, it's hard for me to let go of that 10%. But I know that if I don't, I'm going to miss out on blessings. There's blessings that God got waiting for me if I just be obedient and give him that 10%. Because I got my walk got to say that even though I'm hurting right now, even though I can probably really use this money, guess what? My walk says I'm still going to put my faith and trust in God to provide.
Amen.
I'm going to put my faith and trust in God. Not on my own means, not my own wisdom. I'm going to let God do it. That's why I give my 10% no matter what. Because I got to let my walk. Yeah. Let my walk talk and not my talk. And there's another example. Now, this is one that was going to be two, and I combined it because these are two great examples of putting your faith and trust in God to provide. Go over to Genesis 22. We see another wonderful example of somebody whose walk did the talking. Genesis chapter 22. And this one would be a hard for me right here. But Abraham's obedience got tested. He said, and it came to pass, after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, behold, here I am. And he said, take now thy son, thy only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. So what did he tell him? Take your son, the one that you lovest. He said, I know you love him. I know you. I see the way you treat him. I see the thing you do. I know he's your favorite. And yeah, you got Ishmael, but I know you love Isaac. This is the son of the promise. This is the one that his heritage is supposed to go through. I just gave him to him in his old age, so you know he's special. And then you're going to tell him to go sacrifice him? But did Abraham any blink? No. Because the next line said, and Abraham rose up early the next morning and saddled his ass and took two of his young men and Isaac his son. Well, he got right up and he went to go sacrifice him. Not because he wanted to kill his son, but because he knew the Lord will provide. The Lord will provide a way. Even if the Lord take this one, he's just going to give me another one, I guess. But he was prepared to let him go because his walk said that he put his faith and trust in God for God to provide. Amen. And that's what he did. Amen. So he gets up, he get everything together, and they get ready to head off on his journey, you know, and later on, go down to 7, you know, his son started to get a little worried, like, you know, something's amiss here. So he tells him, oh, Father, I can see him now, oh, Father, we have a problem here. Mm-hmm. And you read verse 7, what he say? Mm-hmm. And Isaac spake to Abraham, his father, and said, my father. And he said, here I am, my son. And he said, behold, the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, my God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So he went to both of them together. Why was that? Now, that was me. I'm like, hold on, man. There's something sketchy about this. No, you ain't going to get me. But, again, what was Abraham's walk saying?
Yeah.
See, Isaac been watching Abraham. He's a younger man now. He's not young, but he's probably at least teenage, early adulthood years. So he's been watching his father for the last 16, 20 years, somewhere up in there. And guess what he's seen? Because of his father's walk, God provides.
Yeah.
God provided him when Abraham was almost 100 years old. His mom was 90-something years old. His son didn't think nothing of it, but he's like, well, my dad walks with the Lord, and the Lord take care of my dad, so I guess he will provide one for us. And, and so he just went along not thinking nothing of it. So then you go over to 9:14, go down to the 9, what does it say? And they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order. And mounted Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took his son. And the angel of the Lord called out unto him of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here I am. And he said, lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horn. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh. And what is that interprets? The Lord will provide.
Amen.
See, what did his walk say?
Amen.
His walk said that I believe 100% the Lord will provide. He's either going to provide me with another son, or he's going to provide me for the sacrifice. But either way it go, I'm going to be obedient and do what God said, because I know even though I love this thing, I want to keep this thing, I'll be more comfortable if I have this thing. I know God wants this thing, and it'll serve God better than me. So my walk is saying that I'm just going to let God provide for me. I would love to keep it myself, but I'm going to give it to God. And what happened? God provided.
Amen.
Does your walk say you believe that? Does the way you live your life say for you? Or do everything, little thing that happens, freak out about it? You go, I'm so stressed. I gotta go get me some pills so I can calm my nerve down because I don't know what I'm gonna do. If that's how you are, if you worry about every little thing come along, then you really don't believe that God, just like Abraham did. You really don't believe that. So what does your walk say? Does your walk, when you look at your life and you look at the way you handle your business and the way things go through, what does your life say about you? Does it say you truly believe that the Lord will provide? What does your walk say? Getting on through this, y'all. It ain't as bad as I thought I would. Number 5. I'm almost done. Does your walk say you are separated from the world? Does your walk say you are separated from the world? By the way you live, by the people that you associate with. Does it say that you are separated from the world? That is one of the most significant pieces of the Christian life, but I also think it's one of the hardest things for us to do. Watch who we hang around. Watch our association. Who we spend time with, significant amount of time with. Now, I'm in the jail every Monday, so I'm hanging out with criminals, but I'm in there doing the work. I'm not going down when they get out, taking them down to the bar so we can throw back some drinks and do all that. I'm not doing all that. When I'm with them, I'm in a position where I can spread God's word with them. Because the thing is, the reason why that's so important, a lot of us have we think that, okay, we're a good person and we're godly enough that we can hang with this bad person and have a good influence on them, but what always happens, they have a bad influence on us. Right. I've never seen a situation where the good person had the good influence on the bad person. It's always the other way around. So you got to be careful with that. And does your walk say that you understand that concept? Does your walk say that you separate yourself from the world? Because the God commanded. If you're a real Christian, the Lord said, He said, come out from among them. Separate thyself. Right. He says that. Not that you better than, not to be like you're better than anybody else, or be like which ones that hide in the woods and they don't have electricity or anything like that. Is that the Amish? I want to say them on people. That them, yes, not to cut yourself out completely from the world, but don't let the world, don't be a part of, don't let the world in you, like we talk about the boat, don't let the world be in you. Amen. Be able to be an influence for the world instead of letting the world be an influence on you. There's dire consequences for that. There's dire consequences for that, and we're gonna see that over in go over to Second Chronicles. We're gonna see this, how important it is, because you're gonna see a father and son, and what happens because his father leads his son in the wrong direction. So let's go over to Second Chronicles chapter 20, verses 31 through 30. So it says, and Jehoshaphat reigned over Judah. He was 35 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 25 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was the daughter of Shelah. And he walked in the way of Asa his father, and departed not from it, doing that which was right in the sight of the Lord. Howbeit, the high places were not taken away, for as yet the people had not prepared their hearts unto the God of their fathers. So in other words, his talk said he was a good, godly man, but his walk didn't truly show that, because he still didn't take away all the high places. He still didn't get the people to the point where their heart was right, because the people was following the king. So for them not to have their hearts right, it shows that his heart wasn't completely right as well. And he's going to do some things that are going to show you that. So it says, now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat are written in the book of Jehu, the son of Hanani, who is mentioned in the book of the kings of Israel. And after this did Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, join himself with Ahaz, king of Israel, who did very wickedly. What did he do? He went and joined himself to the world.
Yep.
He's supposed to be a good godly man, but what did he do? He went and started hanging out with this crook. It said, it didn't just say he was wicked, it said he did very wickedly. He did very wickedly. It said, and he joined himself with him to make ships to go to Tarshish. And they made the ships in Ezon-Geber. Then Eliezer, the son of Dovidah of Marisha, prophesied against Jehoshaphat, saying, because thou hast joined thyself, the Lord hath broken thy works, and the ships were broken, that they were not able to go to Tarshish. Right. What happened? God got upset at him.
Yeah.
Why would you go? Right. You know this man is wicked. You see the punishment I'm dishing out on the man of Israel. You see what they're going through. Why would you go join yourself with him? Good and evil can't commingle. It's not going to happen. Yes, you go, and I'm like, again, not separate, you're not better than anybody else. Yes, you can go down there and talk to him. Yes, you can try to lead him in the right direction. But he went down there to visit. He went down there to hang out. They went and hung out, probably had some feasting, did some drinking, had a good old merry time. And the Lord said, why would you go down there and do that? And so the Lord, prophesied against him, but that's not the worst part. The worst part is what he told his son. Because his son was with him. His son was watching. And of course his son went down there, and because his son was with him, what he saw him a pretty little girl down there. And watch what happened. Go over to 21 verses 1 through 6. He said, now Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, and Jehoram his son reigned in his stead. And he had brethren, the sons of Jehoshaphat, Azariah, Jahiel, Zechariah, Azariah, and Michael, and Sephahatah. I think I said it right. And all these were the sons of Jehoshaphat, kings of Israel. And their father gave them great gifts of silver, and of gold, and of precious things, with fenced cities in Judah. But the kingdom gave he to Jehoram, because he was the firstborn. Now, when Jehoram was risen up to the kingdom of his father, he strengthened himself and slew all of his brethren with the sword, and divers also of the princes of Israel. Jehoram was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. And he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, not like his dad, and the kings of Israel, like as did the house of Ahab, for he had the daughter of Ahab to wife, and he wrought that which was evil in the eyes of the Lord. Because his walk wasn't talking louder than his talk, then guess what? He led his son down the wrong path. And guess what? Right there, that's the beginning of the end of Judah. If you read through there, they had, from that moment on, they had a bad team, then they had another bad one, then they had one that was pretty decent, but they never did fully recover from the damage that these next two land of Judah. And eventually the Lord took him out of kicked him out of the land because of it. So why? Because his walk wasn't saying that he was separated from the world. What does your walk say? Does it say you separate? Because if you don't, if you bring the world into you, the world is going to bring you down. Because that's what the world wants to do. It wants to bring you on the level where they're at. And it wants to bring you down. And if you let it, it will do it. So that's why you got to separate yourself. That's why he said come out from among them. Because you're not going to be a good influence on them. They're going to be a bad influence on you. And it could be the beginning of your end, like it happened in Judah. What does your walk say? Does your walk say that you are separated from the world? Number 6, Does your walk say that your love is unconditional? This is one here that challenges me. Does it say that your love is unconditional? Do you only show love to those that love you? Does your walk say that you are capable of forgiving and still loving someone that has done you wrong? Does your walk say, if this person is outside of my little clique, if they don't go to River Lake Baptist Church, then I can't show them no love? What does your walk say? Do they got to be in your clique? Do they got to be around you? They got to show you love? Or is your love unconditional? Amen. No matter what they do, no matter what you do, you're willing to forgive them. If they're sincere about it, you're willing to forgive them and still love them no matter what. See, that if your walk is not saying that, then guess what? You're not walking in the way of the Lord. Wow. Because the Lord was unconditional. His walk said that he loved us unconditionally. Now I'm going to show it to you. Go to Luke chapter 15. I'm going to show you 2 examples of unconditional love. Actually 3. And this first one, we all know the story of the prodigal son. Over here in Luke chapter 15, verse 11 and 13. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that followed to me. And he divided unto him his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, and there arose a mighty famine in the land, he began to want. So what happened? You got a father and a son situation where the son did the father wrong. Dad, I'm not going to wait for you to die. I want my money now. I ain't got time to wait for you to kick the bucket. Yeah. I want to get out there while I'm in my prime, sow my royal oats. And his father, it wasn't even his money. He didn't earn that money. They didn't say anything about him getting out there and working and earning that money. But he felt he was entitled to it because his father was supposed to give it to him when he died. But he didn't want to wait. He wanted to do it now. So he did the father wrong. And the father, by every means, he had the right to be like, you know what? Take your money, be gone. You know what I'm saying? And he even said, at one point, he was dead, but now he's alive to me. But what happened? That son got out there, he got out there in the world, and he saw the world wasn't what he thought it was. He saw that where he went, he should have stayed where he was at. He should have kept his behind right where he was at because he was getting taken care of. So now he's out there, he's broke, all his friends are gone, the friends that he had when he had the money are gone, and now he's so hungry that he's feeding pigs, which is an abomination to Israelites, first of all, and he's out there feeding the pigs, and he's so hungry that he decides, man, I might as well just go ahead and eat what they eat. But then what happened? It said he came to himself. He came to himself. You know what he did? You know what I believe what happened when they said he came to himself? He remembered his father's walk. Yeah. He remembered my dad loves me. I know my dad loves me. I might have to go back and be a servant, but I know my dad loves me. And it says over in verse 17, it says, and when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father have bread enough and to spare? And I perish with hunger? I would arise and go to my father and would say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee. So what happened? He came to himself. He realized, he remembered his dad's walk. My dad was a godly man. Yep. My dad's servants live better than most people live. I know that if I go back, he'll still love me and bring me back in. So he went back. And it says here, it said, and I am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. He said, but when he was off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. He was still, in other words, he was still far away enough. He could have made the decision, you know what, I'm going back. This is stupid. But it said his dad saw him. His dad ran to him. He didn't make it to his dad. His dad saw him and ran to him. Why? Because his dad's love was unconditional. And he knew his dad's love was unconditional by the way his dad walked. His walk said that his love was unconditional. And he knew that if he went back to his dad would give him that unconditional love. Because that's what you got to do if you're really going to serve the Lord. You got to have an unconditional love. You can't have a love well, he's nice to me, then I'll be nice to him. No, your love has to be unconditional if you're going to truly serve the Lord. And of course, I want to show you, go over to Luke 23, 32 to 34. This is the second example. And this love here, I mean, there's no argument that this love was unconditional. Because this is Jesus doing the crucifixion. Now, you got to understand, of course, I'm not going to go through the whole story because I'm about out of time. But he's been crucified. He's been wrongly accused. He's been crucified. He's been beaten. His beard has been pulled. This crown of thorns. They done beat him over the head. They just spit on him. They done took all his clothes. I mean, they completely disrespected him. And now he hanging up on this cross about to die. And what he say in verse 32? And there was also 2 other malefactors led with him to be put to death. And when they would come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him, and the malefactors, one on the right hand and the other on the left. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Yes.
Why did he say that? That was love.
Yep.
That is unconditional.
Yep.
If nothing else is unconditional love, that's unconditional love right there. Because I guarantee you, had somebody pulled out my beard and stuck nails through my hand, I'd be talking to my father, but I'm be asking him to forgive me for what I said to them while I was hanging there on that cross. I can guarantee you that. But he had unconditional love.
Amen.
His love was unconditional. So while they're suffering for no reason, out of jealousy of the hearts of other people, he still looked down and said, don't charge them with this. Put this on me. Don't charge. They don't know what they're doing. I still love them. I still want them to be. I'm still gonna make a way for them to be saved. That's unconditional love.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And of course, the greatest showmanship of unconditional love, again, it deals with Jesus in Romans 5:8. This is the greatest one right here. In Romans 5:8, what does Romans 5:8 says? But God commended His love towards us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. That's unconditional love. Even though we some low down, rotten pieces of nothing, He still died for us anyway.
Amen.
Because
Yes,
He loved us.
amen.
He didn't say you had to go be perfect first. He didn't say you had to go and give away all your money to charity.
Amen.
He didn't say you had to go live a good life and read your Bible every day. It says while we were yet sinners, when we was just the way we are, Christ died for us, and He showed unconditional love for us. What does your walk say? Would you be willing to do? Does your walk say that you would be willing to do the same thing? Lost people that probably hate you because of who you are and who you represent, but yet still be able to make that sacrifice. Does your walk say that? Does your walk say that I love you unconditionally? Does it tell the world, the people in your world, that you love them unconditionally? Or is there things that comes along with your love? Your love got strings attached. What does your walk say? Number 7, y'all. We'll be done. Number 7. You'll be done. This is a good one, too. This is one of my favorite ones. This is a good one. Last one. Number 7. Does your walk say that you already have the victory in Jesus? Does your walk say you already believe that you have the victory in Jesus? These problems of this world is nothing in you. The things that you're going through is nothing in you because you know at the end of your life you have the victory. The devil try to beat you down. He try to put you through the trial. He does everything to get you away from the Lord. But does your walk say that no matter what, devil, I already know I got the victory? When people see your joy and they see how you handle these problems that the world is throwing at you, and they see the way you deal with the people in your life that's rude to you, do they see that and be like, I want some of that? I want some of that. He got something. I want some of that. I think I remember one of the testimony Brother Terry was telling, where he was talking to somebody and they told him, I want some of what you got. Do people see that? Does your walk say that? Does your walk say, man, you need to get some of what I got? It's kind of with the power thing, but it's a little bit different. Does it say, when people look at your life and they see what you're going through, do they see you as losing and being beat down and trodden, or do they see you as winning? And we'll go to our last example. Let's go to Acts 16.
Amen.
Acts chapter 16, verses 19 through 32. It says, and when they're messed, now the situation going on, Paul, they're on their second missionary journey. They go to this certain area, and there's this lady there, and she's basically a psychic. And so she got this demon on her that's giving her the ability to tell the future and do things of that nature. So she follows around Paul and Silas, and she's calling out to him, and it gets to a point where I guess it just got on Paul's nerve. So he turned around like, hey, demon, get out of her. And he left. And when he left, of course, she didn't have that ability no more, and therefore these guys didn't have their money maker no more, so therefore they got upset. So then it says, and when her master saw that the hope of their gain was gone, they caught Paul and Silas and threw them into the marketplace unto the rulers, and brought them to the magistrates, saying, these men, being Jews, do exceedingly trouble our city, and teach customs which are not lawful for us to receive, neither to observe, being Romans. And the multitude rose up together against them, and the magistrate rent off their clothes and commanded to beat them. And when they had laid many stripes upon them, they cast them into prison, charging the jailer to keep them safe, who having received such a charge, thrust them into the inner prison and made their fast in the stocks. So he thrust them into. So it ain't just they just lightly took them in there. They thrust them into it. And I'm pretty sure that jailer, he felt like he was a big man. Yeah, these Christians going around talking all this. What they gonna see? What they gonna say about Jesus now? I'm not gonna put them in there. I'm gonna put their foot in the stock. It was bad enough they was in prison, but they put them in prison and locked their feet and hands in the stock so they couldn't even move. You know how uncomfortable they have to be? I turn in my bed every 2 seconds. My wife gets so mad at night we trying to go to bed because I'm constantly flipping and turning. So I can only imagine being stuck up there, legs stretched out like this for hours upon hours. And I bet he felt like a pretty big man. Yeah, let's see what they're going to say about this God, this Jesus of theirs now. But guess what? Paul already had the victory. He knew he already had the victory.
Amen.
His life said he had the victory. Because what happened? So they've been beaten, so they're probably bloody. I'm pretty sure they didn't take care of them. They got their hands in the stock, so they're uncomfortable. But yet at the same time, what they do? They had an all-night prayer meeting.
Amen.
It said singing and praying. It said, and at midnight, Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises to God, and the prisoners heard them. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken, and immediately all the doors was open, and everyone's bands were loose. And the keeper of the prison, waking out of his sleep and seeing the prison doors open, he drew out his sword and would have killed himself, supposing that the prisoners had fled. But Paul cried out, "Do thyself no harm, we are all here." Then he called for a light and sprang in and came trembling and fell down before Paul and Silas and brought them out and said, "Here you go. Sirs, what must I do to be saved?"
Amen.
What can I do to have that victory on my life like you just had? Because I knew when I brought you in here, I just knew you was defeated. You was beaten. I tied you in the stocks. I thrust you into the prison. But yet you still sing and praise your God. And you had enough power to where you could have left, but you stayed here, and you stayed here and you saved my life. What can I do to have some of that? Does your walk say? What does your walk say? Does your walk say you already had the victory? Paul wasn't worried about being in jail. He was a regular there. Like Brother John, he was a regular there. And plus, he knew he already had the victory in Jesus. No matter what happened to him in this life, he's going to go to a place where he's not going to be beaten all the time for praising the Lord. He's going to go to a place where he's not going to be thrown in jail every time he bring up the name of Jesus. He already has the victory. And he want to do everything he can to share your walk say the same thing.
Yeah.
Does your walk say the same thing? And then it says over here in 25, or I already read 25:32, said they brought him out. He said, "Sir, what must I do to be saved?" And they said, "Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved, and thy house." And they spake unto him the word of the Lord, and to all that were in his house. His whole house got saved.
Amen.
Why? Because they saw the victory. They saw that these men have something I want. They got a victory I want. That would have been me. I would have been there depressed and no telling what I'm doing. But these men here, I just saw them come in beaten and bloody, and yet they still praise their God. They have the victory. I want some of this. Does your walk say the same thing? Does your walk say that you have the victory in Jesus? So, summation. And that was our introduction, and this is the message. I got 5 points that can help you. How can you show the world that you not only talk the talk, but you walk the walk? 5 quick things that I'm doing. First,